Hi, I'm Annalia, and welcome to Brightly Becoming, a podcast that gives you the space to slow down and come back to yourself. Here we talk through life in a grounded way, where conversations are held on identity, faith, and becoming who we're called to be. If you're in a clear season or an uncertain one, I'm glad you're here either way. It's time to come back to who you are underneath what you carry. Welcome to Brightly Becoming. Hi, you guys. Today's episode is deeply personal. It's about something I think a lot of people experience but don't always have the language for. It's about discovering who you are after years of being who everyone else needed you to be. After years of fawning, after years of people pleasing, after years of trying to keep the peace, stay lovable, and stay safe. For me personally, after chronic illness, because something no one really tells you is that chronic illness doesn't just affect your body. It can interrupt your identity. It can pause your life in ways that people can't see. It can make you question who you are when you're no longer performing, producing, helping, fixing, accommodating, or even striving. And if you live most of your life in survival mode, eventually you kind of wake up and ask, wait, who am I actually? Not who I had to become, not who kept everyone comfortable, not who stayed small to avoid conflict, but me. And that question can feel terrifying. And personally, for me lately, it has. And for a long time, I didn't realize how much of my identity was built around managing other people's emotions, making sure everyone around me was okay, reading the room before I entered it, changing my tone depending on who I was around, and knowing exactly what version of myself would be easiest to receive. Being agreeable, flexible, helpful, easygoing, and from the outside that can look like kindness, and sometimes it actually is kindness, but there's a line between kindness and sacrifice. Sometimes it is kindness, but sometimes it's also fear and sacrifice of your own needs. And sometimes it's a nervous system that learned, if everyone else is okay, maybe I'll be okay too. If no one is upset, maybe I'm safe. If they approve of me, maybe I belong. And when you do that long enough, you can become incredibly skilled at being loved for who you perform as, while feeling disconnected from who you actually are. And you become fluent in everyone else's needs and estranged from your own. And then chronic illness entered my life in a way that changed everything, because illness has a way of removing your masks. You physically cannot keep the same performance up forever. You can't be endlessly available when your body is just exhausted. And you can't pour from an empty cup when your nervous system is fried. You can't pretend everything's fine when your body's screaming for attention. And for people who tie their worth to usefulness, that can feel devastating. And I talked about that in the last episode a little bit, because if I can't overgive, who am I? Right? If I can't be the dependable one, who am I? If I can't achieve, produce, push through, look polished, show up perfectly, who am I? Illness forced me to sit with parts of myself I had outrun for years. The grief, the anger, the emptiness, the uncertainty, the exhaustion. But it also forced me to meet the real me. Healing is often romanticized, and people talk about becoming stronger, becoming wiser, becoming resilient. And yes, that happens. But another part of healing is identity loss. You realize the old version of you was just built around coping. The old version of you survived. It did what it had to do. But survival identities don't always come with authenticity. So then you're left in this weird in-between space where you don't want to be who you were, but you don't know yet who you're becoming. And that stage can feel so uncomfortable. Because we like certainty, we like labels, we like neat stories, but self-discovery is messy. Sometimes growth looks like confusion. Sometimes healing looks like just not knowing. And sometimes becoming looks like falling apart first. The moments I'm living in currently are surrounded by these thoughts of, did I want this career path or did I want approval? Was I saying yes because I genuinely meant it or because no felt dangerous at the time? Did I want peace or did I just fear what would happen if conflict were to arise? Those questions cracked something open in me because underneath the fawning was someone with opinions, someone creative, sensitive, strong. That version of me simply just wanted to live, not just manage other people's reactions or predict their emotions, mind read. And meeting that version of myself again felt unfamiliar, but unfamiliar doesn't mean wrong. Sometimes unfamiliar is just what freedom feels like. One of the hardest parts of healing is realizing some people only knew the version of you that abandoned themselves. They knew the over-accommodating version, the available version, the self-sacrificing version, the version that made them comfortable. And when you begin changing, there are some people who will call it selfish. Some people will say, you've changed. Some people will just act confused. But of course you changed. You were never meant to stay in survival mode forever. And yes, it hurts when relationships shift. Yes, it hurts when being authentic costs you your approval. But losing roles is not the same as losing yourself. And the right people truly do stay. Sometimes losing roles is how you actually end up finding yourself. And that's me right now. Because there is a version of me that thought life was a race, that thought everyone else was ahead, that thought if I worked harder, pushed more, healed faster, then I'd finally arrive on time. Chronic illness humbled that mindset for me because some days success truly just became taking a shower and getting through a scary episode on my own. And resting without guilt, that's a big one. Saying no, canceling plans, choosing peace over the need to prove myself. And strangely enough, in this slower life that God has given me, because my life truly did a 180 and it's one of my favorite things to talk about, I started hearing myself. I started hearing my real voice, not the voice of urgency, not the voice of comparison or trauma, but my own voice, and it just felt like it had been waiting for me this entire time. I'm still discovering, and maybe that's just the point. Maybe identity is not just one fixed answer, because at the end of the day, we are constantly evolving. If you grow to become too attached to the version that you currently are, when change comes around, you're going to feel really unsafe, and you're not going to know who you are. You have to be open to change. Open to evolving, because that's just inevitable. There's no escaping that. Maybe who I am is not a job title. It's not my productivity. It's not my relationship status. It's not my health issues. Not how needed I am or how I feel. Maybe who I am is what feels aligned to me, what feels honest, what doesn't feel forced. Maybe I'm the version of me that emerges when fear is no longer driving the car anymore. I don't think I'm lost. I think I'm just finally being introduced to myself. And all this week, I've just been feeling lost. That's so common, especially in your 20s. I know I have listeners who are not in their 20s, but I'm sure anybody who's listening can just relate. Like, we feel lost because we're human. I think we have to stick to one path and we're not able to change. If you're in a season where you don't know who you are anymore, if healing has made your old life not fit, if boundaries feel lonely, if illness has paused everything for you, if you feel behind, you are in discovery. You are in reconstruction. You are a work in progress. You are learning how to exist without abandoning yourself. That is huge. Give yourself credit for that. That takes courage. It takes patience. No, it may not look glamorous, but it is true, genuine work that will set you up for success. So maybe today you don't need to figure out your whole identity. Just throw that idea away. Maybe today just ask yourself, what do I feel? What do I need? What do I enjoy? What feels authentic to me? And maybe those tiny moments become the path back home. Maybe that's what you've been searching for the whole time. Maybe you're not lost. Maybe you're just returning home to yourself.
Thank you for being here. I hope this felt like a space where you could just slow down for a second and feel present. Wherever you are right now, you're allowed to be there. You aren't behind. You are becoming. Talk to you soon.